Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's edition of the Just Us Review, where we like to take our favorite shows, whether they be superhero, supernatural, whatever they may be, break them down and give you guys that nit and that grit. And you guys know us by now. If we like it, we love it. If we hate it, we gonna boo-boo on it. And today, we got a special one for you guys. I know some of you guys are like, I'm not paying for Amazon Prime. And you know what? We didn't either, but we still...
I did.
But we still My second job is a pirate. So we decided to go out and check out The Boys. Now, I've heard a lot of ramblings about this series, you know.
Season 2 is somewhere near, or they're filming.
From what they say.
Yeah.
My sister called me up and was like, boy, you missed Grandma's birthday and you need to watch this show. So... how about we hop into it? Let me give you guys the premise right quick before we tell you guys how we felt about it. Now, we live in a world of superheroes, but, you know, they're not the star-spangled awesome that we think they are. This is a more realistic view of superheroes and how they've been taken over and by more corporate standings. So there are more privatized companies are in charge of superheroes and pretty much market them and dictate how they save people.
That's what happens on the background, but to the public's view, they're the Justice League, and they just happen organically, and everyone should aspire to be a superhero.
So with that being on the front side, on the back side, you have people who have been affected by superheroes, more so than the main... can you call him a protagonist?
He's a protagonist.
He's an asshole.
Yeah.
The main guy who's had some bad dealings with the main superhero, Homelander. Sorry, Homelander. And come to find out, he believes Homelander had raped his wife and ended up killing her somehow because she ends up disappearing. So now he has a grudge against all supers. With this going on, he plots a steady revenge plot against all the top 7 superheroes because if they're seen as untouchable, they're seen as gods. And if you can take one of them out, now everybody loses that protection and that warm feeling, that safe feeling that the Justice League can save them. Now let's get into it. Where you want to take this from?
You want to do the good, then the bads?
Yeah, I'll take the goods.
All right, let's start with the goods.
Okay. The goods of this is I love the portrayal and the character development of each of the 7 Justice League members. I love the depth of them. Like Homelander's...
They call it 7.
The Justice League.
Don't sully something good with something shitty right now.
So,
out of the way.
Like Homelander's background, when you get into it, you find out that he was technically abused as a child.
So let's go ahead and break this distinction right now. We're not going to reference much from the comic, the graphic novel, or anything. We're just going to specifically talk about this show. And it's character development and it's writing and everything.
Anybody that's on their typewriter doesn't be like, that's the comic. Just telling you a preemptive, shut the fuck up.
We're not talking about Nazis and none of that stuff right now. We're just talking about what they gave us in the show. So yeah, he was basically groomed to be the way what they wanted him to be.
First of all, he was experimented on as a baby.
Right.
Well, in the womb, if I got that correctly.
Yeah.
He was pretty much he was the archetype for all this.
Right.
And they pretty much later on discovered that because of the success with Homelander and the other 7, that they have been secretly dosing babies with this experimental liquid that has been giving them their powers. Because a lot of people believe that supers are born, that it's a gift from God. Actually, they're just coming out of test tubes, like Steve Rogers. Mm-hmm. So Homelander is this commanding presence that everybody fears. Now the story starts off. The first episode starts off with the super speedster. A-Train. A-Train kills this guy.
Main character Huey.
Yeah, Huey's girlfriend by running into her and exploding her into chunks. And instead of recognizing what he did, he does a phony apology and tries to do what the news does and try to make it that it was her fault that she died, that she stepped in the middle of the street and A-Train couldn't avoid her. When later on we find out that A-Train was on crack. So the the main character is invested because he's like, I did absolutely nothing to protect her. Everybody's telling me to abandon her and take the money. And they're supers. What can you do? It was her fault that she died. So then comes Billy Butcher. I got a lot to say about Billy Butcher.
Is it on the good side?
It's the bad side.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Really?
So you probably right there with me too, huh?
So,
Oh, wow.
We gonna get there.
I don't know y'all.
Continue. Continue.
All right, so I'll take it. So Billy Butcher comes into play, and he's like, "Hey, I got a plan." Basically, you know, we're not going to really go through the entire plot and all that stuff, but basically, he's recruiting people to take down the supers. Huey's going to be his newest recruit because he has a meeting with the Seven, so he can be his inside man. Mm-hmm. So he basically needs to get a bug in there and hear what's going on.
Through this meeting, a bunch of stuff pops off, and they end up able to capture one of the Seven.
The Invisible Man.
The Invisible Man, who's apparently skin. He doesn't really translucent skin and indestructible. And they're like, okay, we're going to find a way to kill him because we hate supers. Jump. Homelander's looking for him because if anybody takes out the Seven, that makes them look weak. And then they're like, we need to dispatch him, therefore putting a bomb up his ass and killing him. So now the Seven is done. Now the Seven realize that somebody's coming after them because they later hide his body. But Homelander finds it in not Homelander, the Aqua dude.
The Deep.
Jesus Christ. The Deep is able to find his body, brings it back to Homelander, and they discover that there's a cabal out there who's after them, trying to kill them. Now, with all this going on, we get introduced to this new up-and-coming superhero, Starlight. Starlight is your old girl next door from Middle America, white bread chick. And she comes in eyes wide open like, I want to be a superhero so I can save the world. Now, they need this cookie cutter image, so the corporation's like, come on, man, we're going to add you to the Seven. But she finds out that world ain't all it's cracked up to be. Now,
gotta get a little dirty.
If you want to maintain that clean image, you got to get a little speck of dirt on you.
You want to be a star, don't you?
So when she comes in there, the Deep says, hey, if you want to be a part of the team, you pretty much got to suck my dick. And unfortunately coerces her to giving him sexual favors, and she does allow her to join the team. Now, with all this going on, Homelander's trying to figure out who's trying to kill them. At the same time, the boys are trying to construct a plan to take down the Seven. Well, we get introduced to a couple people on this journey. We get introduced to an Asian woman. I don't know if they said her name.
The woman.
Kimiko.
That's the name they give her. Well, she says that later.
They name her the female, but her actual name is Kimiko.
So they run into Kimiko. Now, the whole point of Kimiko is that we find out that not only is she a super, but that the government, that these corporations have been engineering supers for the superheroes to fight. So pretty much staging it like, okay, with these supers up, now the world is terrified. Now we need to put supers into the military so that they can be corporate ran wars, pretty much. That's the whole point of this.
You can sell them to political powers and all that stuff too.
Privatizing the war efforts. That's all it's about.
Yeah.
So
let's I don't want to get too much into the whole plot and all that stuff. Let's break down his characters. Mm-hmm. What was their journeys? Was it good? Was it bad? Mm-hmm. So good character developments. What do you got?
Great character development was A-Train. We see that he's. I'm not saying he's a good character. I just like the roller coaster.
Of all the supers outside of Homelander, he had the most development. And look, there are some things that I question about it, like did the black man have to be a drug addict? But at the same time, like we get to follow him as a character and see
why he was
exactly, and see so many levels to him, like because a basic person who's just watching this for entertainment is like, well, him and the rest of them are just bad. But then it's like, no, like you actually see that he's a human too.
So what I loved about A-Train, not him as a person, was how his situation echoed a lot of the plights with people in inner cities. He was like, I got this gift and it got me out of a bad situation. I was able to pull me and my family out of it. But in order to maintain this, like I said, not everything is clean up top. There's some dirty stuff that I have to do to stay on top. And everything, and he's like, I gotta fight every day because somebody's always gunning for my position on the show.
Trying to be faster than him.
Exactly. He's the fastest man on earth, but there's a lot of people with speedster powers out there. And he's like, if I gotta stay on top, there's got things I gotta do that might not be legal.
And you mentioned something in that aspect about how he's always trying to keep his spot. And this to me was, this plays into something that I really liked about this show, which was, they basically put out the edict that no matter who you think you are, there's always someone above you. And I know you had an issue with this as the show was going, and then they addressed it, but your main issue was they're superheroes and they're working for this corporation. Why don't they just fucking take it over? And then Homelander addresses it. He's like, we can do whatever we want, and yet we kowtow to these corporate people. And that's because money rules everything. And even gets their attention.
And at the end of the day, they were in control. Homelander was in control. He's like, I orchestrated this. I pulled the strings over here. This is happening because of me. So he's like, you don't need to be the at the top necessarily.
But here's the thing about
so here's the thing. He had to do that covertly. He couldn't come out in the open and say, I'm in charge now.
And not even just that, like, he still, regardless of how many strings he pulls, he's still beholden to that corporation. What I'm talking about is, fuck corporations, I'm God, I can do whatever I want. So you can't own me. You can't own me. I own myself. So if I want to rule the world, I'm going to do that. Yeah. And we're all in agreement to that, right? right? So later on.
It actually kind of goes hand in hand. The thing about Homelander and his journey was that he was kind of searching for his identity as well.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me just put this out there. To me, he was the most consistent character in the show.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. And so with him on his journey of trying to be, what is my role in this, and what is going to be, what is his future in all of this? He's like, he wants to be the clean cookie cutter image. People look. He wants to be the Superman image that people. He wants that to be his image.
Okay.
Like when he goes into a city, he wants people to praise him, not because they fear him necessarily, but because he wants them to be someone that they can either aspire to or just, I see how powerful you are and I respect you, and keep it moving.
In a way, see, here's the thing that was probably subtle. The corporation not only manipulated him in regards to giving him his powers and whatnot, but they got him addicted to that lifestyle.
Yeah,
he never was able to make the choice to want to have that for himself.
Right. He was a product of that company, and so that's why he was searching for his origin and where he came from and what he could be. And we later find out. We'll get to that in a second. But he was just basically trying to make his own identity and what it's going to be. And so we find out, we're going to just go ahead and spoil it, jump to the end. He started a family.
Pretty much. So another great that I want to recognize for is like Starlight's path too. The way that she grew from a victim and that she realized that the limelight of being one of the seven isn't all it's cracked up to be, that she doesn't require this to live. She actually fights back against the corporation and starts saying, because she starts recognizing that they don't want her for her. It's this image that they can portray. And they started tearing down who she is, how she acts, what she dresses like, and everything. And she comes to a realization, like, this isn't me, this is what I want to be. And then she rebels against them. And I thought that was an incredible journey. She actually fights back against her attacker and puts him out on blast. And one of my favorite moments in the show is when she's confronting the head lady who's in charge of the corporation, and she was like, "Yeah, you know what?" The lady goes there, it's like, "You know what, Starlight, you might not be a fit for this," and she pretty much pulls her whole card and is like, "I wish you would try to pull me from my spot, especially with all the dirt and everything that I know about this company." And she's like, "I'm pretty sure there's more victims out there because you have sat back and allowed these people to abuse their power, especially over women."
And also on her journey, she had a religious experience where she had to confront, basically, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it, but basically, she had to not necessarily confront her religiosity, but basically tell the truth.
Well, the hypocrisy of what they were preaching.
Right.
She grew up and saw that what she saw as a child was idealized. And here's the thing. Ironically, she has to thank people like the Deep for that, because they threw mud in her face, and now she's looking at it through clearer vision, so to speak. Because she says it when she goes there, she's like, "I used to like all this stuff, and now like I'm looking at it from a different tone now, and it's not. This is wrong."
Well, it hit more on a personal note because I felt like I've grown up in the religious community, and from her perspective, I was like, growing up, you idolize all this stuff and you don't question it. So when you see it, you're like, okay, yeah, I just accept it because I'm a child. This is what I'm being told. And as you grow older and you hear these same spills, you're like, wait, this doesn't make sense. You're gonna tell me to, be celibate, but I'm in my parents' wedding photo. So
So another character from the 7 that I think I wanted to see more from, but they gave us a lot of information, was Maeve, the Wonder Woman character.
Yes.
We see that she has a storied past, storied history with that group, and her identity and what she's going through, and she's pretty much just giving up.
Well, it ultimately goes nowhere because we see the rumblings of what her past was with her girlfriend or whatever, and then it just kind of teeters off.
Well, I actually have to push back on that. I actually thought this was a great too because I love the fact how they presented her. Like, she's the strong, unbreakable woman, yet she had to pretty much give up everything that she loved just for this spot. And she pretty much foreshadows what Starlight would have become had she maintained the path that she was on. And then you see realize in the show that she's had a relationship with Homelander. But then I'm thinking, okay, with how much in love that she was with her girlfriend before she joined the 7, was that relationship coerced or forced?
It was probably manufactured.
So let me say something about the Maeve stuff, and to kind of give credence to what he's saying. It sounds like to me you're saying they didn't put enough time in on her.
I think we got just enough to leave us wanting more for season 2. Like everyone's path wasn't done just yet. So
some weren't even started. Black noir.
Yeah.
Weird, no.
But I feel like some of those things were done on purpose. Like I said, I know we're not talking about the comics and graphic novels. There's going to be a lot of reveals from that. Things that are probably going to change with the actual TV show. But I think we're going to see her character hit her peak and her critical mass, her real journey starting the 2nd season. Depending on how far they want to carry this off.
Another good that I loved about this series was the journey of the Deep.
We're going to heavily disagree.
Well, no. In how the lessons of comeuppance and karma. Because we meet the Deep and he's a scumbag. And because you realize he has a history of forcing himself on women, especially those who are trying to join the squad. But then how the karma of it all, and how later on he becomes a victim, and he has to look at himself in the mirror and realize that he's scum. And you realize that he has a lot of personal demons within himself. Like, he's looked at as a joke. Nobody takes him seriously. He has to try to overcompensate.
Physical
deformity.
So here's the thing about that.
And I'm going to agree with Christian, even though I don't know what he's about to say.
Wait, before you say this. Horrible character. I'm just saying the arc. I just like the fail arc that he went on.
So, was it really a fail arc though? Because to me, it felt like they were trying to make us sympathize with him.
No. By any way, shape, or form.
Everybody hurts. Really? Do you really want to challenge me? If you go back and watch how they frame his downfall, they want you to sympathize with him. Yes, they do.
So let me say this. I agree with you and disagree with you because I don't think it was they want you to sympathize with him. You made a comment. How on the team he's considered a joke. So here's my thing. I would take that arc seriously, but the show considers him a joke too. And then we get comedy shit like him trying to
save the dolphins
and fuck crabs and shit. It was like I don't take this seriously.
And here's the thing too: when he was sexually assaulted, that was halfway a joke.
It really was.
It was halfway a joke, and the thing is, like, nothing about a sexual assault is funny. And they wanted to make it funny, and that's where I'm like, no.
Yeah, for me, it came off as like a shock factor. Like some of the things like we might see in from the show itself, and also maybe reference Game of Thrones. Like just I'm gonna throw shock at you.
Okay.
Like, I didn't see that coming, did you?
So
I can't play that up as a life lesson being learned or an emotion they're trying to invoke from us. It's just.
Because half the time you're trying to make us sympathize with him, and half the time you're trying to make us laugh at him, even when the shit is not supposed to be funny.
Yeah, and I'll say this with him, the sexual assault thing. That really, when you think about it long term, is that something you really want to put out there when
as karma?
Exactly.
Not just as karma, but let me say this. As comedy, because you just juxtapose the fact that Starlight got sexually assaulted and that was serious. We all have to be sad about that. We all have to be mad about that. So when men get sexually assaulted, we laugh at that.
Now, to invoke by Cartman, right? I mean, like he went from this great position to now he's an unknown in a backwater county.
And here's the thing, I get what you're saying. How he had this rise and this fall, and on paper that's good. It's just that the show want you to laugh at him.
That is true. That is very true.
So I got a couple of goods that I want to mention. The first good is I really liked. We said we aren't mentioning comics, and I'm not mentioning anything from the comics. But for this to make sense, I had to mention that this comic is a little bit older. This isn't too much of a current comic. It came out in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And when they adapted this show, and that's my good, the adaptation.
Yeah.
They adapted this show to fit the times, our modern times with superheroes, and how they are pretty much dominant in our stratosphere right now. And what I really liked is if you're going to have this team that's supposed to be like the Justice League, who do you mock? Who do you model them after? Zack Snyder's Justice League.
True.
All dark and greedy.
Yeah. Maeve, you can't tell me they didn't go and get Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman outfit and paint it brown.
Yeah, they went to the trash can.
They didn't even model that. They was just like, so you're not using that anymore? We'll take that.
They went to Zack Snyder.
Okay, paint it brown.
They went to Zack Snyder's trash can. It's like, oh, he ain't using this no more.
Exactly.
What's this white stuff?
And the second thing that I wanted to mention, this is a theme. So y'all know that one of my favorite things about it, to me, what I consider a good superhero movie is if you take a situation and you put a superhero in it that you can't think, how would that superhero get out of that situation? But the movie shows you and you're like, okay, that's slick, that's clever. 2 examples, Iron Man 3 with the plane, Spider-Man 2 with the train.
Okay.
So, my favorite scene in this movie is when Maeve and Homelander go and stop the plane.
Because can I say one thing? I love the realism of this, but keep going.
And what I really liked about it is they put a spin on it. We could stop the plane. If we were Superman and Wonder Woman, we would have been able to stop the plane. But I kind of feel like Homelander didn't want to stop the plane.
No.
He explained it. So if you watch there's a YouTube series like Real Science and stuff like that. They talk about applying superhero physics to real world and what would actually happen. He said, if I tried to get out in front of this plane and stop it with my bare hands, I would crush this plane and probably just go straight through it.
That's true, and he did say that. But the one thing that they didn't mention that he could have done is fly under the plane on the belly and just lift it up.
That's the thing too.
They mentioned that too.
I don't remember if they did it in the show, but Neil deGrasse Tyson, or the show I'm talking about, if you exert force of that magnitude, you will go straight through it. It's not gonna hold you.
They were fucking.
I like that they use that realism.
It's the same philosophy as like a speedster carrying somebody. He will break their fucking neck.
Well, the last thing he could have done is what Iron Man did: make everybody daisy chain.
But like, even Homelander, he was like, I'm too strong to do this. I will end up fucking just killing everybody. So our best bet is to make sure that nobody survives. And one of my favorite moments is like,
they're leaving the plane and they're like, save us! Are you gonna save us? And Maeve looking back like,
because he was like, we just take the little girl. Just let me take this one child. And Homelander's like, she's gonna fucking talk. Leave her, Maze. Now either you come with me or I'm gonna leave your ass. And he left. Like, say what you will about Homelander, he like you said, he never changed.
He's the most consistent character. And the thing is, like, we could talk about how shitty of a character he is, but the thing is, one, he's consistent. Two, we gotta also remember, like, they made him. Exactly. He's a victim, and they made him that way.
Now,
and they're not trying to glorify it.
One of my favorite scenes, and this involves Homelander too. So Homelander comes to the meeting, and he's sitting there. Everybody's like, "Yeah, I just want to hold a meeting with y'all." And then he's like, "Y'all been fucking up." And everybody get real quiet. He's like, "Yeah, y'all ain't been pulling y'all weight."
Except for who?
Except for Black Noir. And Black Noir was like, that made me think of Batman so hard.
People made memes out of it. I don't know if you ever saw it.
Yeah, I saw the meme.
People made me like, y'all been fucking up in here. Except for you good.
That shit had me dying. And the fact that Black Noir doesn't speak at all. He's just like, yeah, I know I'm awesome. Mm-hmm. But
so I gotta say, let's go ahead and throw speculation. We said we're not going to really talk about the comics, but in the comics there is a spoiler about Black Noir identity. Do you think they're going to do that? I don't know if you guys got
I don't know.
I don't know this either.
All right, so we're not going to mention it here on camera. We'll talk about it off camera.
Okay.
We'll see if they do it season 2, season 3, however they're only going to stretch this out. All right, so moving on as far as favorite characters, I got to say I like the character growth with Huey and his relationship with Starlight.
Okay, we'll talk about them later. But
because I mean, he was your everyday man. Mm-hmm. He was your everyday man. Really not really wanting to get into all of this until he found the motivation. Mm-hmm. And it was like, what would a regular person do in a situation? As far as are you trying to get revenge or are you trying to get justice? And it was a little bit of both for him, and he wasn't really shy about that. Mm-hmm. Even though he still tried to ride the moral area throughout this entire
he had to ease into that.
He rode the fence a lot.
My favorite breakout Huey moment is when he goes to the church concert. He rolls up on Ezekiel, and he's trying to blackmail Ezekiel. And Ezekiel, what is he telling?
Ezekiel. So the thing is, Ezekiel is this highly religious leader, but on the low, he is gay. And they find that out at the beginning because they go to this club for supers, and he's hooking up with several men. And that's his leverage that he wants to use to get the information he needs from Ezekiel. And so when Ezekiel figures out what he's doing, he uses that trump card and he says, "No, you slept with me." And Ezekiel is like, "You better not say that. I never slept with you." And he's like, "Oh, yes, you did." You played my ass like jazz.
I hit the damn ground.
And it comes out of nowhere.
It's a serious. Okay, it's a serious. Like, you played my ass like jazz. Was there any more goods that came out?
I like Mother Milk character.
I liked his character.
I like that they brought in, introduced his family. He's really a family man, and you saw the concern in what they were going through, and how the juxtaposition between his wife is like.
You bet this shit was over.
I have to push back on this so hard.
But she was like bringing her in. You saw the realism as far as like you said we weren't doing this anymore. We know that this dude is trouble, and you're doing it again.
And you've been doing it behind my back. And you got to think about this. I'm this mother and wife, and I'm living my normal life. And then one day out of the blue, I get a call that says, "You're getting uprooted. You got to come live in this bunker for a little bit because shit then got real." And you told me we were done with this shit.
Well, and that's why he's on my bads, but I'll wait till we get back.
Well, not necessarily just him as a character, but his whole
His
dynamic. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say one more thing that I like. I thought this was low key, but I liked the character progression of Frenchie. Particularly because he went from this con artist character that you thought you could just throw away, and then you
I
really
thought he was going to die several times.
Exactly. I was like, he's not making it out of episode 3.
Like, he just walked through the whole series with a death flag.
He went from that to this real life character, and I thought they handled it well.
Okay.
I even liked his actor.
Okay.
Yeah. I will say overall, as far as stuff I like we said, I like that they put it in today's modern time, and still, I hope people got from this that not necessarily corporations are bad at the end of the day, but like you gotta realize what the message they're trying to portray about capitalism and corporatization and privatization and how it's ruling our lives, and even what we say we like and love and praise, and how it can be a facade, and you have to remove yourself from that. And so, like, yeah, people watch the show, and I think just looking at the internet, people just like, I love the darkness and the dark comedy, dark humor, and the grittiness and whatnot. Like, so what about the overall messaging that they were trying to portray,
Exactly.
even back from the 2000s comic?
Like, the whole idealization of hero worship, how we really need critical thinking, how we need to sometimes even question things. Like, I love that message because we see what these heroes are really like, and what they show to the public is so surface level, but people buy it and they don't question it.
And it's because they want to buy it.
And they want to be ignorant.
And because we can see some of the evil intent behind what they do, but because the public has been pretty much shepherded to follow these people.
Because it has a cartoon character on it that you like.
Or it's on the Wheaties box, or it has the Funko Pop. And I thought that was a very strong message, especially in a time where people clout chase.
Yeah.
And I'll say this too. This is my one last thing, good wife. Piggybacking off of what we just talked about. So a lot of people talk about, you mentioned how people were talking about they liked it because it was gritty and dark and stuff like that. And here's the thing. The Boys is a prime example of when you do that stuff and do it right. When you do, it's not just adult, it's mature. It's why the last review we did for Justice League, we shat on it so bad because it was, I wouldn't even call it adult. It was immature. And that's the distinction when you do stuff like that. It's in my opinion, why the Zack Snyder DCEU fails in comparison.
So
it's not mature.
So here's the thing. I'm going to agree with you to an extent because I do feel like, look, the sexual assault thing is where I draw the line with that, because it's like you're making fun of this regardless of how shitty of a character the Deep is. He's being sexually assaulted and you're making it a joke. That's where I draw the line at that. I would say that there's a 70-30 as far as the balance what that is about being adult and immature. But
he does have his moments of immaturity.
But that's here nor there.
But at the same time, I think that they draw some of that immaturity from the comic itself, because the purpose of the comic was to just be as outlandish as possible. And so they wanted to bring in some of that outlandish stuff, like small people jumping into private parts. Like, yeah.
That was Marvel, though.
Now, since we got the good stuff out of the way, let's get into the negative aspects of the shows, or what we like to call the bads. What did we find bad about this?
Okay, I gotta go first on this.
Okay.
The character arcs were fine, but I did not like the actors portraying Huey and Starlight.
Or the main, well, she was okay, I guess.
Those two actors, for me, did not fit. First of all,
Huey had to grow on me.
You know who, leaning back into the comics a little, but this is actually an Easter egg. You know who Huey was modeled after, right?
Yeah, Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
But
could you have seen Simon Pegg doing that character back in the day?
Back in the day, yes. But here's my thing. Because they have the Simon Pegg Easter egg, I'm okay with Huey looking different. But my thing is, Huey, the way it's portrayed, Huey is supposed to be maybe mid-30s. He looked 40. He looks and acts like a 40-year-old who never got it together.
And
then when you juxtapose it,
considering what his relationship with his dad is, I could kind of fucking believe that.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be in his 20s.
Yeah.
And then and the reason why is because of everything around it. When you juxtapose it with his girlfriend that got killed, she looked like she was in her 20s.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
And Starlight is like coming out of her teens.
Yeah. And my problem with Starlight is, and maybe this is on purpose, she just comes off bland to me.
I think that's supposed to be the purpose.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's like we're gonna build you to this. Like she's just your regular country girl, wherever she
door.
Yeah,
Like
wherever she comes from.
She kicks shit on the way home.
Maybe I just hate those types.
But they basically said we're gonna build your brand and your image, and people are gonna love you at the end of the day.
One bad that I had dog push is the black guy,
Mother's Milk.
Mother's Milk. I didn't like the fact because this is like I hate characters like him. He reminds me of Diggle to the point where what are you sacrificing your family for? They never explained why he was so invested. Why he was so like I get the other
That's
characters.
fair.
So here's the thing. We might as well get into this now because he had. That's the same problem I have with him, and it's tied into the biggest problem.
Well, we'll wait on that. We'll circle back to that one.
Okay.
Because what I have to say about this is...
Did they ever explain why?
They never did. It was like, I understand Bill's perspective, Bill, and I understand the kids. I barely understand Frenchie's.
Frenchie isn't motivated really until Kimiko comes into play.
Well, and granted, but Mother's Milk
has no stake in this.
Thank you.
And that's totally fair. I like that character. I just liked him as a character. But you are totally correct.
Yeah.
It just comes off as he's riding for Billy.
Exactly.
He just riding for Billy.
And I'm like...
It's almost like they had a military pass or something, but we don't really get to see that.
It was like you have a wife, you have a daughter, you have a healthy relationship.
And a job.
You have nothing to gain and you have everything to lose.
And you literally drop this at the drop of a dime. So maybe it's something in the comics where it explains their history, where he owes Billy one or some shit. But from that perspective, I was thinking, here we go, the magical black Negro again.
I won't get into his comic stuff on air, but I don't know about him and Billy, but there is more to him.
Okay.
Yeah, there's more to a story.
Okay, so my next bad is my biggest problem with this show was Bill the Butcher. And the reason why, and I know you guys are like, why Bill?
Not me.
I'm gonna let y'all say y'all
issues,
piece.
too.
Bill was the definition of hurt white man entitlement. I hated the fact that...
I'm sorry. Interesting that you say that. Keep going, but we're gonna circle back to something.
Okay. The reason why I say this is because I understand what happened to his wife and everything, and what he believed had transpired, even though from what he viewed from the tapes. But for you to carry that hatred to all supers did not make any sense.
Can I tag in
Go
on that?
for it.
It's not even just that. And then he did it recklessly because he never bothered to his investigation as far as Homelander is concerned. He should have been able to uncover all of that stuff regarding how he was created and everything like that. But it was, no, all super's bad. All super's bad. You have one super that's on your side who was dating Huey that was nothing like the rest of that team that you could have been using as leverage, as a person on your side. Because let's be real, any one of them could have destroyed you guys. You only got lucky because Translucent was the weakest.
And as a matter of fact, they even came out and said, as soon as they got discovered, it's like, we need to run because now they know who we are.
Exactly.
But my whole issue was, it was like, I got slighted by one person, so I'm going to now condemn an entire group.
I feel like you're missing something. Another piece of the story. They did go after them before the show started.
Yeah.
And the Lantern guy, they found out and took out or whatever. But that was also added on to the fuel for his hatred. I can't remember if the Lantern killed some more people of the team or killed the FBI chief's family and all that stuff. Whatever. Like he knows that whole company needs to go down.
Well,
and they're basically just rogue superheroes with a mask on. So he knows that there's more going on to just the facade that they put up.
And I understand that.
So here's the other thing too that might bring some context to it. Every super in America is connected to that company. So it's not a thing like X-Men where if Wolverine did me dirty, I hate all mutants ever. And there may not be any that are on the X-Men. It's just that because they're all connected to that company.
They're all products of that company.
Yeah.
And I get that, but he was lashing out against Kimiko and he
exactly.
And he even said, he was like, all supers are bad. And I'm like, if you said all supers that work for this company are bad, granted. But
what about the baby that you used that had X-ray eyes to get out of that lab that you were sneaking in? Is the baby bad?
And then after you, and my thing is after you,
would he be above killing that kid?
No, but but that goes to my other issues. After you discover that these kids are actually victims and are actually being drugged against their will, how come you don't sympathize with the fact that they're being forced to be these supers that you hate?
Because he needs his motivating factor. If he's going to see out to whatever his end goal is, his end game, which is maybe capturing Homelander, maybe toppling the company.
But the problem is that his end game doesn't make sense.
No,
if your end game is to get Homelander, then move about this smart. He's running into a brick wall hoping that it kills Homelander.
And not only that, and not only that, even when he is given something, because he doesn't get exactly what he wants, he throws all of those advantages away. The FBI chick or whatever was like, we'll give you everything you want, protection for your crew, y'all get offices, we'll bring the company up on charges. And just because they couldn't give him Homelander, he was like, no. Then lies to his crew about it.
And that irked me too, because it was like, y'all been killing supers before. even if they don't give you Homelander, take everything you need. Because look, you killed Translucent with a toothpick and a stapler. But as you go up the line of supers, you gonna need more resources.
Well, it wasn't even just that. It was that they could not take on Homelander.
Homelander doesn't have a weakness.
Exactly. And that was my thing. What did you expect them to do? Go and put handcuffs on them? Homelander, we're going to take you to jail. Good luck.
So,
well, I think at the end of the day, even though you don't like his character, that character was written that way because he's human, he's clouded by all his misgivings about what happened to his family and how it's been uprooted. And he's blinded by anger and rage.
But my thing is,
he's going. It makes sense why his character acts the way it does. But at the same time, you don't want to like that character.
It's revenge. It's
it's sloppy revenge.
No. It's suicide disguised as revenge.
Yeah, because what does he have to live for?
So here's
then why are we watching the show?
No, not that.
He's not the main character.
But my thing is, why is it that I have to? So the people around him, especially the black guy, they see that he's taking them down with him, but they still getting in the car.
So here's what I think for me is a perfect explanation for Billy the Butcher. Is he mad at supers? Yes. But to me, it's not about them being supers. What I got from it is it's about their effect on society. And it all all comes together when they go to that AA meeting because he's for me, a chunk of that anger comes from these supers are out here and they are dominating us, and y'all just let it happen.
Don't question it. They hurt you and abuse you, and, mutilate you, and you still worship them.
Exactly. And that was why he was so mad at Huey, because it was like, these dudes killed your girlfriend. That's exactly why he was mad at Huey.
You don't like his strategy or non-strategy. But at the end of the day, his anger was justified.
His anger was that Huey didn't want to do what he wanted him to do.
Because Huey, he was mad at Huey because he felt like Huey went against the principles of what they were doing. And Huey was the physical manifestation of what we just said a few minutes ago. The supers hurt you. And you almost let it go, just let it go by. And now you meet a super and you're just ready to throw it away immediately.
But at the same time, he didn't know that girl enough to know that she wasn't like those other supers.
He doesn't care about
exactly.
And that's my issue right there. My whole issue is this. You want to get mad because somebody isn't in the same state that you were in. This man literally just lost his girlfriend. He's still in a state of shock. He's still processing emotions. You're mad because he ain't moving to the beat of your drum. If you really sympathize with this kid, then you will help him process his pain.
And if you really want people to get on the beat of your drum, as it were, then I'm sorry, going up in an AA meeting and mocking them isn't the right way to go.
So you said if I want him to sympathize me. He does not want him to sympathize with. He doesn't care about sympathy.
Okay.
He's like, you have a right, I have a righteous anger. You need a righteous anger. And he's basically that's what he's trying to build his team on. But at the end of the day, it's like, if somebody wrongs you and you let it slide, I don't know if I can trust you to be I don't think I can trust you on this team.
Okay.
So, but he realized that Huey is a person he can manipulate and use.
Thank you.
That's what his character has devolved into when we get into the story. Because when we find out his backstory, we see that he went on a downward spiral. So you're not really supposed to like the person that Billy the Butcher is, but you're also supposed to understand where he's coming from.
And I'll say this. I think he turned into being manipulative because he saw that the whole world, even his team, at first they may have had that righteous anger, but they're letting that fire burn out. And my fire still burns. And if they're not going to if they're not going to keep putting fuel on that fire, then I'll just get gasoline and start fueling that fire myself.
But you're risking diminishing returns because these people not even gonna want to come back when all you do is fuck them over. He didn't even go and try to get them when they were all kidnapped. Huey did that.
Not exactly. Yeah. Not just that, but essentially he's just yelling into the fucking wind. Here's my issue.
Billy the Butcher is not a team player. He has a goal, a mission, and he wants you to ride with him. If you don't, he'll kick you out the car.
His whole...
So the thing is, he's on a self-destructive path.
Okay.
He got people to join him because he needed people.
Because misery loves company.
Exactly. So he's finding people who can either do the job or people who should be just as angry as him. And when he starts to see that, like you said, the fire is dying out or people aren't carrying their weight, he's like, fuck it, I'll do it myself. Whatever. I will do what I feel like I need to do by the end of the series, which was kidnap the lady.
And every time he says I'm about to go do it myself, he tries to find somebody else to recruit.
That's not fair. So everybody that joined that team joined on their own accord.
So I'm gonna stop you
He only went to them for specific things, and they kept staying with him.
So here's my problem. Here's my problem with that. No, they didn't, because he kept trying to recruit Huey in the first episode. And the only reason Huey came was because a fucking invisible man attacked them, so he really had nowhere else to go at that moment. But I'm gonna say this. Okay, so he brings these people in, and if they don't want to go, then he'll do it himself. Why the subterfuge then? Just do it yourself from the beginning.
So here's the thing about that, and no, he did not recruit them. He only went to Huey because he saw what happened to Huey on the news.
And he was about to use him.
Exactly.
He was like, I really just need you to plant this bug.
Exactly. That's all I need. Even after their first meeting, it was done, and he was like, well, go back to Radio Shack.
Huey was left. I will say this, what he didn't know, he didn't recruit Huey. But Huey was put in a position where he depended on Billy. Because he was like, Super know who you are. Either you ride with me or you don't. You don't have to get in the car, but he's seen your face and he knows where you work. Well, fuck, I don't have any choice but to get in the car with him.
Exactly.
But here's another thing I want to point out. So at the end of the series, we find out that not only is Bill's wife alive, but she's had a child by Homelander, and we see the look on his... First of all, this is one of my favorite part, because the look on Homelander's face after all this, he was like, wait a second. All this is over this? And he's like, okay, cool. And he drops some off, and he's like, okay, now what? And I love this part because this kills all Billy the Butcher's motivation now.
And that's what's drawing me back into season 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, so did she leave him, or what was she coerced? Like, what happened here? And then what is Billy's motivation to keep going? To have an actual season 2? Like, what is it going to be motivation to either take down Homelander or take down a corporation or what? What does he have left to do?
I think it's as simple as now it's time to take down the corporation. And he'll get back to Homelander on the flip side.
Well, here's the problem. And this is one of the parts that I love that they introduced. The supervillains they created are already out there.
Yeah.
I think that's one that's going to be the focal point and I think another thing, they're going to accidentally breed somebody who's stronger than Homelander.
So here's the thing. I was going to get to that, and that was going to be one of my bads too, which is it's kind of a stupid plan to breed supervillains for your heroes to fight, especially if one of those villains turns out to be stronger than your strongest hero.
It's nepotism. They think that Homelander is the gold standard.
So far...
And then it's going to come to find out he's weak to aluminum foil.
So far, Homelander has no weakness, so to everyone and anyone who knows, he can defeat anybody.
Case in point, how the fuck would we know Kryptonite would kill Superman if it didn't come on the ship with him?
But at the end of the day, I am looking forward to season 2. They actually have introduced... There was someone who was just as strong as Homelander in the comics. Named I don't know if this person was before him or side by side with him, but like the number one headband was named Stormfront, and they're introducing Stormfront in the next season.
Ooh.
And I think they gender swapped to be a woman. So I hope Stormfront brings the pain, whatever how they plan to use this character.
So Stormfront must be Shazam.
I don't know. And I'm like I said, we're going to talk about Black Noir off camera, but Homelander can be brought down if we just go based on the comic. But I want to see how they do it in the show.
Okay.
So one more bad I had, and it's basically piggybacking off of one of my previous bads, which is Huey. Stop me if you heard this one before. Disaffected young white male gets pulled into a world that he didn't know existed, and he has the veil pulled from over his eyes, and he has to decide if he wants to know the truth or if he wants to go back to being
Regular.
irregular.
To the Matrix.
The Matrix, Wanted, Fight Club. Can we stop this? I'm so tired of that print. I'm pretty sure that's cliche now.
It is cliche. It's storytelling. It's
101.
Yeah.
101.
Like basic.
yeah.
White man who don't know nothing.
Well, if we want to go on character journeys, Huey is supposed to be us. And the veil is lifted for us as he goes on his journey. So that way you don't just. So that way, imagine if Billy the Butcher was our main character.
Well,
it was like
actually,
and we're gonna
I don't have a pediatrician coon.
and we're gonna be like, wait, when did he know this?
Well,
Wait,
actually,
how does he know that?
Actually, Huey and Starlight are us.
I don't know if I want to classify this as a bad, but I don't know. Like, when you break it down to its base and you got the V7 or whatever it was called, I'm going to just call it V7 because I think that's what it was in Flash. And you got
Compound V.
Compound V. All right, you got the Compound V. Everyone's base power set is the same, I believe. Most supers are super strong and super fast, and some form of indestructibility. And then you may have a secondary, tertiary mutation or whatever, which made Homelander so strong because he has so many different power sets. But everyone at the core of it is just super strong and kind of fast.
But that's also the whole challenge of being in the 7. It's like you constantly have to compete for your spot. But except for, of course, Homelander, because it's like, yeah, you have super speed, but so does like you said, there's a guy in Minneapolis who got super speed. This guy, and what we judge as super speed is like slow to them in certain aspects. So that was one aspect that I just love that they integrated.
I want to circle back around to one good. Oh, did you guys ever hear a train whenever A-Train was running?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
But I'm not going to lie.
Every time A-Train ran, it sounded like a locomotive. I like that. It was a subtle sound effect in there. I don't know if you paid attention to it.
That's pretty dope if that's the case. I gotta go back and listen to that again.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. I even you said you liked his character. I like the actor playing him too. I thought he did a good job.
Oh, and
I didn't expect him to be able to act like that.
And the actor who played his brother too.
Yeah.
Because he was great too.
Yeah. But overall, I think all the characters were, for what they were well acted. I know we didn't touch on the corporate lady. She was paper. She was cookie cutter in a sense, like
manipulative white woman.
Yeah, like she played her role. Yeah.
I don't know, like just giving it a grade scale. I give this a B+. I love the show. At some points, I thought it dragged a little. But from just a whole storytelling perspective, I liked it. There's a couple of things that I need them to address, of course, in season 2. But of course, that's how they get us to watch it. Yeah. What are you looking? So going across the room, how did you feel about the season overall, and what are you expecting to see?
I binged this faster than I thought I would. I think it took maybe 2 nights to finish this. So for me, that gives it a high B range itself. I'll go B+ as well. I feel like there were some things that were a little immature that I didn't care to see. I like the overall messaging and the tone they were going for, but I want to see some things resolved and where it goes.
I'm gonna go B-. I think the balance between their maturity and their adult content needs to be balanced a little bit. Like I said, there were some things that made me like go, yeah, no. But a lot of the stuff that they did, I thought was on point. Like I said, I don't have a favorite character, but
Same.
I guess it would be Homelander because I thought he was the most consistent person in the series. But he's not really my favorite. He's just the one that stood out to me that I thought they were on point with. Everyone else is either all the way hit or all the way miss. And fuck the deep. Go.
I'm gonna give it an A-. For me, it's season 1. It's 10 episodes. I think, to me, the biggest flaw overall is I do think it needed more room to grow, and I think that's where a new season would come in. But overall, I thought, outside of the deep, I thought they handled most of the subject matters well enough for me that I want to see where it goes. If we're talking about the deep, I kind of just honestly hope that they don't even address him next season. But I know that's not the case.
Yeah, he's there. He's probably going to have a redemption path, and
no, he ain't.
I'd rather see.
It was too late. It was too
typical
late.
TV. To do
It
a
was too
redemption
late
path.
for that. I'm sorry, but no.
It's going to happen. If you watch Game of Thrones, you know that even the despicable characters
So something I want to
do
point
some
out.
type of redemption.
So
You don't watch
something-
Game of Thrones.
So something I wanted to point out too. I'm sorry, but like, are we really gonna continue with this old joke of he can talk to fish, so he's a joke, ha ha ha? And I'm like, that was the best y'all could do for that type of superhero. Y'all could have did like another superhero and made him a joke.
Well, one thing that, and this is my final thought about it, one thing I didn't focus too much on was the superpower aspects of the show. Like, yeah, they were superheroes, but we didn't focus on them doing like flight, super speed and all that stuff. That wasn't the focal point of it. It was basically more story driven than it was action driven, and that was a real surprise to me, and that other people need to take lessons on. That you can tell a great story. It doesn't have to be a huge CG budget or anything, but it was compelling to watch Homelander interact with people and try to play the part of a human. Like one of my best scenes, it was like, although I love the airplane scenes, but one of my favorite scenes is when he's in the office and he's just trying to communicate with people because he sees them as less than, and I love that. Like some of the action scenes were okay and were cheesy here and there, but overall it was just the fact that you had the portrayal of these quote unquote gods and how they viewed humans. So I just love the interaction. We've seen the series. We recommend that you guys go see it too. What are some of your favorite aspects of the shows? Maybe we missed some things. What did you like? What did you dislike? Were there some things that weren't addressed properly? But comment at the bottom, like and subscribe. We have plenty more things for us to review later. But until next time, peace.